What if legendary Pokemon trios got new members? I answered this question in a video a little while back by making some new Pokemon that could fit into some of these legendary groups, and it was a ton of fun to explore, and you guys really seemed to love it. So firstly, thank you so much for all the support on that video. It really means a lot and helps the channel a ton. But second, we only went through the first 3 generations of legendary trios in that video. So we are here to do it again today with 3 more legendary trios from generations 4 and 5. So strap on in and let's take a look at what it could be like if the Lake Trio, the Forces of Nature, and the Swords of Justice had new members added to their groups. So to start, we're going to be looking at the Lake Trio, and you know, have you ever noticed how clean these Pokemon's designs are? It's almost as if they use the products of today's wonderful sponsor, Manscaped. Sponsors like Manscaped help to keep awesome videos like this one happening, and they're one of my favorite sponsors of the channel because I personally use their products every day. One of my favorite products of theirs is their body wash because it not only smells great, but it has me coming out of the shower feeling exceptionally clean. To make it even better though, Manscaped has just introduced the Body Buffer to their line of products. The Body Buffer is basically going to help you mega evolve your body wash by giving you a better lather, which will help you get your skin cleaner and will help to remove more of the oil and bacteria that cause body odor, clogged pores, and breakouts. Additionally, Manscaped are also offering a Buff Bundle, which will get you not only the body buffer, but also 2 bottles of the Manscaped Ultra Premium Body Wash to get you started. And you can even get 20% off this bundle, plus free shipping, by using the link in the description and code HoopsVGM at checkout. Consider checking that out, because it not only supports the channel, but it'll also help keep you smelling and feeling great, which is super important. And once again, another big thank you to Manscaped for supporting the channel and helping make videos like this one possible. So these Fakemon we're about to get into had their artwork drawn by my good friend Alestiva076, and he did another fantastic job. So be sure to check him out on Twitter or Instagram and give him a follow. Links will be in the description. With that said, let's take a look at the Lake Trio first, shall we? Uxie, Azelf, and Mesprit are a pretty definitive trio of legendaries, as they were created by Arceus after it created the world in order to bring knowledge, emotion, and willpower to the world itself, and to all living things in it. With that said, their group seems pretty complete as is, so what would another member of this group look like if that ever happened? Well, maybe something like this. Meet Gremlid, the Temptation Pokemon. Gremlid is essentially the evil counterpart to the rest of the Lake Trio, and was meant to bring temptation to the world in addition to the knowledge, emotion, and willpower that was brought by Uxie, Azelf, and Mesprit. This follows along with the creation myth that is already established in Pokemon, which is also inspired by the creation story in Christianity. One element of that story is that people are supposed to be allowed to be tempted by the devil, because our time on Earth is supposed to be kinda like a test. So, along with all of the other elements that the Lake Trio are bringing to the world, Gremlid would bring with it the spirit of temptation, and would generally be very mischievous and would love to cause trouble for other Pokemon and people. As sort of the black sheep of this group, it would also be a dark type instead of psychic, and possibly even dark ghost. This is because it would make sense for Gremlid to be banished to the distortion world, just like Giratina was, for all of its misdeeds, meaning that Gremlid is sort of an extension of Giratina in the same way that the Lake Trio sort of act as an extension of Dialga and Palkia. This is the reasoning for Gremlins' visual similarities to Giratina, including its coloration and its horns. If it were real, it would even have the perfect place to be found in Sinnoh, at the Send-Off Spring, since it's already a lake, just like the lake trio inhabit, and it's that unusual fourth lake that's already connected to Giratina, so it would be a perfect fit. Finally, its name simply follows the naming conventions of the rest of the lake trio, using the name of a fae-like creature, so in this case, Gremlin, since that's one of the more nefarious fairy tale creatures, and, according to Bulbapedia, the names also use the acronym UMA, which means Unidentified Mysterious Animal, and is apparently a Japanese stand-in for the word cryptid. But since there aren't any other letters available in that acronym that aren't already taken, I just decided to use the word cryptid itself instead in the name. So, all things considered, that is where Gremlid's name comes from, and I think it could fit in pretty nicely with the Lake Trio, even though they already are a pretty definitive group. And I think it would also add a nice extra layer of lore into the Pokemon world's history. Now we're going to move from Gen 4 to Gen 5 and look at the forces of nature. Not only are they not technically a trio anymore with the addition of Enamorus in Pokemon Legends Arceus, but these are also some of the ugliest, worst legendary Pokemon in existence. So is there any hope at all, and I mean any hope, for a new member? Well, to my own shock and amazement, there absolutely is. Meet Malevolus, the Rage Pokemon. I never thought in my life that the forces of nature could ever look cool. They have always been some of my least favorite Pokemon ever. But doggone it, Alestiva absolutely crushed it with the artwork for this guy. And it gets even better when you look at Malevolus's Therian form. Like, are you kidding me? This is one of the coolest Pokemon designs I have ever seen, period. And it's supposed to be one of the genies of all things. I had to allow myself to flip out a little bit here, because this one turned out absolutely incredible. So please, go give Alestiva a follow for this amazing work. But now, with that said, let's get back to the origins. Malevolus was conceived as sort of a counterpart to the newly added Enamorus, as since Enamorus encapsulates love, I thought it would be cool for Malevolus to encapsulate hatred and rage. Additionally, there is also legitimately room for a fifth member of this group as well, as a big thing that the forces of nature are based on are the four symbols, or the beasts of the four cardinal directions. The four symbols comes from Chinese mythology and depicts a mythological creature that represents either north, south, east, or west. There's the azure dragon that represents the east, the vermilion bird that represents the south, the white tiger that represents the west, and the black tortoise that represents the north. And these animals are what these Pokemon's Therian forms are all based on. However, there is also a fifth member of this group as well, and it is known as the Yellow Dragon, and it represents the center of all of these different directions. That is why Malevolus is yellow in color, and why its Therian form is also a dragon. Additionally, as the Rage Pokemon and a counterpart to Enamorus, Malevolus is a dark flying type, and its base form is based on Hachimon, a Japanese kami, which is what the base forms of all of the other forces of nature are based on as well. And Hachimon is basically the Shinto god of war, which explains the dark type and why it is known as the Rage Pokemon. And last but not least, its name, Malevolus, comes from the word malevolent, referring to its dark typing and general nefarious disposition, as well as, just like all the other genies, Aeolus, who was the ruler of the winds in Greek mythology. I would absolutely love this Pokemon if it was real, which I never even fathomed I would even think of for one of the genies, so it would be amazing to see it explored someday, especially if it looked like this. For our third legendary Fakemon of the video, we're staying in Unova because, for some reason, Unova got 2 legendary trios, and the next one we're looking at are the Swords of Justice. Now, just like the Forces of Nature, this trio isn't technically a trio, since Keldeo was added to it a little later on as an honorary 4th member. But nevertheless, they were once a trio, and they definitely fit the legendary group of Pokemon criteria that we are highlighting in these videos, so what would another member of the Swords of Justice be like? Well, maybe just like Trevelyan. Trevelyan is a fairy fighting type, and just like all of the other Swords of Justice, it is based on the famous story of the Three Musketeers. And while they are called the Three Musketeers for a reason, hence why the Swords of Justice were once a trio, there is room for growth with this group to be able to add new members. After all, that is why Keldeo was added, as it is based on D'Artagnan, the 4th member of the Three Musketeers, who is basically wanting to become a musketeer himself. And this is where Trevelyan comes in, because it is based on Monsieur de Treville, another character from the Three Musketeers story, who is actually the captain of the Musketeers themselves, meaning that Trevelyan is the trio master, or quartet master if you will, of the Swords of Justice. This is why it is also a fairy fighting type, as the fairy type gives it an advantage against every one of the other Swords of Justice as the quartet master. The only minor exception to this is with Cobalion, whose steel type has the advantage over fairy, but Trevelyan's fighting type also has an advantage over steel, making for a bit of a stalemate between these two Pokemon, which is all the more fitting considering Cobalion is kind of seen as the de facto leader of the Swords of Justice, so it being the one that is able to contend the best with this trio quartet master is quite symbolic actually. In addition to that reason though, Trevelyan is also part fairy type because it is based on a character from a story, or a fairy tale if you will, so it really does make for a good fit all things considered in my opinion. The name Trevelyan also borrows the words stallion and champion from the names of the other Swords of Justice, and additionally also comes from Treville, the name of the character that Trevelyan is based on. And with that, that is another look at what it could be like if legendary Pokemon trios, or quartets I guess, got new members. Which one of these is your favorite, and do you have any other ideas yourself? Let me know in the comments below, and be sure to leave a like if you enjoyed, and subscribe for more if you're new. With that said, I will be back with another video very soon, and until the next one, as always, thanks so much for watching this one, I really appreciate it a lot, and I will smell you guys later.